Sophiralou and welcome to my channel. Hello guys and welcome to this week's video. This week I'm going to be building a clay sculpture. I'm using this Fimo Air Basic, which is an air drying clay that I picked up from Cas Arts a while ago, and I found these little plant pots and put two and two together and I was like, I'm going to build myself a prickles. I started off trying to make a wire base, which is something I used to do when I made clay sculptures a while ago, but unfortunately I didn't have the right kind of wire, and due to time limitations decided I was just going to build him anyway, make a nice solid base with him, and then put the parts together with like toothpicks and make sure I was building the right sections up together. I try and get in the frame as much as I can. I do apologise if some of the parts are out of shot. I did try and fit in the stuff in the frame as much as I can, but it was quite difficult for me to remember that not only was I building this, but there was a camera around watching it all as well. So my experience with clay is quite I built a lot of stuff when I was at university, for like 3D models and stuff, when we were doing like stop motion animation. We did a stop motion animation on the course, and it was quite a while ago. It's about 8 years ago now that we did it, and so it's been quite a while since I've actually played around with clay, so I am no way in any way, shape or form an expert. I just thought it would be something nice and fun to do and give my hands a bit of a rest from drawing, because sometimes like if you draw too much you've got to make sure to take your time to exercise your hands and relax them, and this was an awful lot of fun to do. There's a lot I've learned from building this that if I was to play around with clay again, I would definitely have to go back and improve. The hardest thing I found was trying to like make sure that there wasn't too many fingerprints on it. I wanted a very squishy style to it. I wanted it to look like it had been handmade. I wanted the paint to look very painterly, and I just wanted this sort of like I wanted it to look handmade from the start. And there's definitely parts that I could have smoothed out more. There was cracks that were showing, and you can see my fingerprints in part of it. But overall, I had a lot of fun with this, and I do recommend, if you do ever want to play around with clay, to have like just get like the most basics clay to get a feel of it. There are better clay that's out there, or modelling clay as people would call it. I've always been recommended Fimo, but Fimo can be quite expensive, so this Fimo's Basics was perfect for me to try out something different and try out something new. And in case you haven't noticed yet, yes, this is Prickles. I've been wanting to make something 3D of Prickles for a while now, because he's just so much fun to do in general, and he's just so much fun to draw that I really wanted to make him like a quick sculpt. If you're wondering what I'm using for the spines here, it's just cut off ends of the toothpicks, so they're not too sharp. They're a little bit pointy but not too sharp. And after that I used acrylic paint to put down a base. I let it dry. You're meant to leave Fimo Air Basics to dry for 24 hours, but due to time limitations in the video I didn't have quite enough time. I had to leave it to dry for a few hours and then went back and painted over it, and then had to wait for the layers to dry in between. And I think if I had more time, I would definitely spend a lot more time on the sculpture and then have my time with the paint. I definitely would not paint while he was in the pot again, because the acrylic paint just went everywhere. And I'm not the most proficient when it comes to acrylic paint, which is why I haven't actually done many videos on it. I only have a handful of tubes from when I used acrylic paints a very long time ago, but when I was going through on this I had to mix up a lot of the colours myself to be able to actually get the colours that I needed. The hardest part is trying to make sure that everything had an even coat, because the wet paint was still a little bit wet underneath, and I didn't have time for it to dry properly, and a lot of this could have been solved by me having more time, and yeah, it didn't really happen. I really enjoyed working with this. It was an awful lot of fun, and it was fresh, and it was something exciting and something different, which leads me to my next question. Do you guys want to see me attempt and try more little mini sculptures like this and see if I can improve over time, see if I can get any better? Because as with anything, you don't improve until you actually try. And I was always scared about posting something like this up on the channel because I have like next to no experience with half of these things. When I first started the channel, I had next to no experience with watercolours, and I feel like I've really improved with that. I feel like I've improved my colours in general. I feel like I've improved my line work. I feel like I've improved because art is this kind of journey where we don't know if we're not good at something until we try it. I will probably say I'm not the most proficient with this, but I feel like if I had time and if I had like the energy to go into this and maybe work on it in my free time, I would get better, because as with anything, the more you work on it, the more you improve. Prickles is probably one of my more fun characters to draw, and he would the reason why I decided to be perfect for a little sculpture is just because he's so round and his shapes are so round that it makes him much easier to draw anyway. So if you, I would imagine sculpture wise it'd be much easier. I would love to have something made 3D of Prickles for people to actually physically buy. Sculptures would be so cool, but cost and pricing per unit will probably be very difficult for me to be able to get all that done. But, you know, it would be fun to try. You never know if something doesn't work until you try. So I hope you guys have like enjoyed like my little mini Prickles. As I said, I know he isn't the best. I know it's not the cleanest or the tidiest, but I had so much fun making this, and I would really recommend this basic clay to anyone who wants to try this out. It was very squishy, very easy to mold, and a lot of people will say, oh, but you should get the best equipment if you want to get better at it. And I would only get the better equipment if I felt that I was proficient enough in the clay anyway. It requires sometimes quite a bit of strength in your hands to be able to mold properly, the right tools, and you know that can be expensive. So I always find that starting off with the basic materials first and then building up to more expensive materials, you'll be able to build up your repertoire and be able to get better at it as well. I learned a lot from making this in general anyway, that I would be able to apply if I was to do another one. I'd really like to possibly get some more of this. I made a silly butt one for me. I made a silly like cactus butt stuck in a plant box. I thought it was hilarious. But I would like to possibly try and get some more of this Fimo, because I ended up using quite a bit for both of the pieces. I don't show the second piece in this video because it's just silly and I didn't finish painting it. But I definitely would like to get some more of this and practice more and hopefully get a little bit better. And maybe someday I'd like to do something like the mushroom hunt. I'd like to do Cap and Gus. I'd like to do more Prickles and get better at it. I think definitely if I was to go back, I wouldn't try and use garden wire, because garden wire is quite thick and it's not quite moldable. I used to do a lot of 3D art when I was in secondary school, and I'd use a lot of mod rock and building stuff, so this felt like I was going back to my old roots, and I really did enjoy doing this. I really hope you guys like it. If you guys have any tips on how I could improve, let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys end up making sculptures, I want to see what you do. And if you had the modelling clay, like what would you do with it? What character would you create? I just had fun with creating this little guy, and I really hope that people like it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Maybe like, comment, subscribe. But as always, folks, stay creative.